71554. Today I want to talk about industry wastewater descent into a river. Industry wastewater descent into a river is a serious environmental issue. Factors after release untreated or poorly treated wastewater containing toxic substances such as heavy metal, chemical and organic pollutant. This pollutant can harm aquatic life, damage ecosystem and affect human health, especially for community that rely on river water for drinking, fishing or farming. Environmental risk assessment or ERA is a scientific process to identify potential environmental hazard, evaluate how pollution spread and estimate the impact on the environment and people. This report focuses on the environmental risk caused by industry wastewater in a river. It aims to identify common pollution, assess potential risk and suggest strategy to reduce pollution and protect both the ecosystem and public health.
Hazard identification. First, chemical pollution. Chemical pollution is when factories put bad stuff into rivers. It can hurt fish, animals, and people. Second, thermal pollution. It happens when hot industrial wastewater is discharged into rivers without cooling, raising water temperature, reducing oxygen levels, and harming aquatic life by disrupting ecosystem and allowing invasive species to outcompete native ones. Third, biological contamination. It happens when dirty water from factories has germs that can make people and animals sick. Fourth, solid waste accumulation. It happens when plastic and sludge build up in rivers. It will harming animal and blocking water flow. 5. pH imbalance and loss in oxygen. It happens when factory waste makes rivers water too acidic and loss in oxygen. It will harming fish and other living things.
Exposure assessment look at how people and the environment come into contact with pollutant from industry wastewater. One major exposure route it starts direct use of river water for drinking, cooking or washing, especially in rural area. Another route is eating contaminated fish, since toxic substances like mercury can build up in aquatic animals. People can also exposure that skin contact during activity like swimming or farming in the river. For wildlife, exposure happens touch polluted water, sediment or food. The level of exposure depends on polluted configuration, how often people interact with the river, and how vulnerable they are. Understanding this exposure routes help us.
Okay, now let's talk about effect assessment. How much poison would you willingly drink? None, right? But what if I told you that millions in Malaysia are unknowingly consuming toxic metals like arsenic and mercury just by eating fish or rice from polluted rivers? Today, we expose the truth and the solution. Now, let's break down the damage. When factories dump toxic wastewater, the immediate effects are brutal. Studies show that at just 2 ppm of cadmium, 70% of fish will die within days. That's what happened in Johor's Kim Kim River. Thousands of fish killed and ecosystem destroyed. But the long-term effects are even scarier. Heavy metals like arsenic don't just vanish, they climb the food chain. Fish absorb them, humans eat the fish, and suddenly we are facing cancer risk 5 times above safe limits. Research in the Klang River proves it. And the cost is 280 million yearly. Lost fisheries, debt tourism, and exploding healthcare bills. This is not just an environmental issue, it's a time bomb for Malaysia's future.
In this risk characterization, we found that industrial wastewater discharged into the river poses a serious threat to the environment and public health. The key pollutants are cadmium, lead and nitrates exceed safe levels. Lead in particular is highly toxic to aquatic life, while nitrates present a health risk to downstream communities using the river for drinking water. The ecological impact is significant, with potential damage to fish, invertebrates and overall river biodiversity, especially in discharge point. There is also concern over bioaccumulation in fish, which could affect people who rely on fishing for food. While recreational exposure low, the overall findings suggest an urgent need for better wastewater treatment, stronger regulation and consistent monitoring. If no action taken, we risk long-term damage to river ecosystem and increased exposure for nearby communities.
Mitigation and management measures. First, wastewater treatment. It uses steps like filtering, settling, and cleaning with bacteria and filters to remove dirty stuff from water, so it's safe to release into nature. Second, thermal pollution control. It means that cooling hot water before putting it into rivers. This help keeps fish safe. Third, disinfection and pathogen control. It means using methods like UV, ozone, or chlorine to kill germs to dirty water and checking it often to keep people and animals safe. Fourth, solid waste and sludge management. It means taking out solid from dirty water, drying the sludge and reusing or safely throwing it away. Plastics and other waste should be separated and recycled to keep rivers clean. 5. Oxygen balance and pH control. It means adding air to water to keep oxygen levels up and adjusting pH to a safe range, while checking water quality often to protect river life.
Regulatory and policy frameworks. Effective regulatory and policy frameworks are essential for managing the environmental and public health risks associated with the discharge of industrial effluent into the river. This framework aims to ensure that industrial activities do not degrade water quality or harm aquatic ecosystem. To address this, many countries, including Malaysia, have a legislation requiring industry to properly treat their wastewater before releasing into the environment. The objective is to minimize the discharge of hazardous substances such as heavy metal and toxic chemicals, which can contaminate the water supply and disrupt ecological balance. In Malaysia, the primary legislation governing industrial effluent disposal is the Environmental Quality Act 1974 EQA. This act, enforced by the Department of Environment (DOE), provide the legal foundation for pollution control from industrial source. Under this act, the Environmental Quality Industrial Effluent Regulation 2009 required industry to obtain license for effluent discharge and to meet specific wastewater treatment standards. This regulation set limit for various pollutants and categorize industrial facility based on the type and volume of effluent they produce. Additionally, policies such as the National Water Resource Policy 2012 and the Water Service Industry Act 2006 support water management. This initiative is to promote integrated water resource of management across sector and encourage responsible and efficient use of water resource. The regulatory system might be strengthened in a number of ways to solve this issue. First, the DOE enforcement and monitoring powers would be improved by increasing its capacity through more budget, manpower, and technology. Second, increasing public access to environmental data and enforcing increased penalty for non-compliance will encourage greater accountability and transparency. Third, SMP could also be assist in upgrading their wastewater treatment system by offering incentives like tax rebate, payment, or low interest loan. Additionally, encouraging collaboration among civil society, business, and government can aid in the adoption of cutting-edge technology and best practice for cleaner production.
Last but not least, let's talk about conclusion. Let's be clear, Malaysia's rivers are not just waterways, they are lifelines, and right now, those lifelines are being poisoned. We have seen the signs, toxins in our fish, heavy metals in our rice, and cancer risk skyrocketing. We have heard the stats that $280 million lost yearly, ecosystem collapsing, life cut short, but here is the truth, no one wants to admit it. This crisis isn't accidental. It's the result of unchecked pollution and weak enforcement. So, where do we go from here? The solutions are not mysteries. Stricter laws, smarter technology, community action. This isn't just about saving water and rivers. It's also about saving ourselves. Because when we fight for our clean water, we fight for our health, our children's futures, Malaysia's survival. The question isn't can we fix this? It's will we? And that I say we must, we will, starting from today. That's all from us. Thank you.